I'm so happy to see you. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. It's been quite a ride since my last video, and there's a lot of newness going on in my world, and so I'm really grateful to be back here and at it again with another creative adventure. Welcome aboard to the SS Crafted Courage. I'm your Captain Libs. So I hope you're ready to brave the wild and exciting seas of creativity with me. For this episode, what I wanted to do was kind of take it back to childhood. I love beads. Need I say more, right? No, I really loved making bracelets when I was a kid. Like, that was something that was just so fun to me. And I still, every once in a while, get a hankering to make some bracelets. Although now they're a little more elaborate than what I could do when I was maybe 5, 6, 7, something like that. A fond memory for me in childhood. And that's something that I did a lot of. Kind of couple that with my love of gaming. I've been playing games since I was, oh gosh, I don't even know, young. Like, not to date myself, but you know, SNES, the GameCube, Dreamcast, like those consoles were so near and dear to me. And then we get into the Xbox 360, and then the PC gaming kind of starts to take over and lose that attachment to any real console, but for me personally. But my gaming tastes have certainly changed. I'm more of a cozy gamer now, but gaming still holds a very special place in my heart. As you can imagine, 70s aesthetic, let's combine all of these things into one, and what would that possibly be? Mini beaded curtains, let me tell you. I am excited about making I really don't know what to call it. They're getting popular where you're seeing like small, I want to say tapestries, but that's not the right word, but small mini beaded creations that are kind of like mini beaded curtains. That's just what I keep coming back to. With this adventure today that we're gonna see, I have taken my love of beads, bracelets, gaming, 70s aesthetic, and combined them all into one by making my own pixel art patterns that are centered around gaming themes. So what you're gonna see next is a rupee. We'll put that in quotes, you'll see why. A heart, a potion, and a star, question mark? Sparkly thing, let's say. So I'm really excited to share this journey with you, my thoughts on it, and I hope you'll come along for the ride. Let's roll that beautiful bead footage. I know you're all gonna be surprised when I say this, but I underestimated the project a little, maybe again I did it. So since I said that in every video, I felt like it was really important to keep that streak alive. So here we are, definitely underestimated the effort that goes into this project. This was very much an experimental piece. There was a lot going on in this. Like, I made my own pattern, you know, because in my life that's not on camera, I use a lot of spreadsheets. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to break out the old Google Sheets. And I used this as a way to create a guide for how I needed to load the pony beads onto the string. And while we're speaking about string, I tried a couple of different things. One was a nylon coated beading wire. Honestly, I've never worked with it before, so I didn't know what to expect of it. It's too stiff, and I should have guessed that maybe with the fact that it has a stainless steel wire in it, but its intention or purpose is really to hold a shape. And so I've seen other beading projects where you use like seed beads and make flowers and all these things that you want to hold a distinct shape. And that's what you would use this for. But lesson learned, good trial and error. So I moved on to Stretch Magic, or the stretchy bracelet, you know, string that you might see or use if you're making jewelry. And while that was a better fit, it wasn't quite what I needed. I was trying to create some like looseness, some flexibility, some flowiness in this beaded curtain. And the stretchy string really just kept too much tension. And so that was a real challenge in this project. Also, hindsight, when I was making my patterns, I made the fields square, but pony beads are 6 by 9 millimeters, so they're wider than they are long. And I didn't really consider this until I was midway through the project, and I just wasn't gonna stop there. So suddenly I'm making this Rupee-esque vision come to life, and it looks more like a stop sign. So I had a lot of trouble with this project, and it took some experimentation, and it didn't turn out like the way that I had intended it to come into this world. But throughout the project, I noticed it brought out a lot of desire in me to be perfect. And by nature, creating pixel imagery is precise, and like one wrong pixel placement and you lose the intended vision of what it's supposed to be. So it would have been really easy to see the Rupee / stop sign question mark in front of me and feel like a little defeated maybe by the project before I even got started. There was a lot that went into this. New skills that I had never really used before, like creating my own image from scratch, using mediums and beads in a way that I had never done that before. So instead of seeing all of the things that went wrong in this moment, and you can put that in air quotes, I chose grace. I chose imperfection. I chose to allow myself to just be happy that I made something with my own 2 hands. I used skills that I'd never used before. So I hope when the beads are stacked up against you, so to speak, that you'll choose the same, because you are worthy of that. The heart was an opportunity to put into effect the lessons learned from Stop Sign Rupee. I decided to try a couple of different things that would prepare me for the ultimate challenge mega tapestry curtain. What? Well, it won't be that big, but big enough. But first things first, back to the spreadsheet drawing board. I had to redo my patterns because of the dimension of the pony beads, like I mentioned before. Luckily, this wasn't too difficult. I added a couple of rows in a few spots just so that the image didn't look so wide and stretched. I would really prefer it if I could just use square beads though. It would just live up to the image that I had in my head, and that would be really nice. But you know what? Considering the pivot, and yes, that is a spreadsheet joke, I'm really happy with what I was able to create. Another challenge I faced here was that I couldn't do a traditional gaming red heart because my bead set didn't come with like a dark red color that I needed for that like shading accent. And I just didn't want to spend more money on this project, and more into that later. So I just wound up using the pinks that came with the set since I had a light one and a dark one, and that's what I needed. And instead of using stretchy cord this time, based on some light reading I had done, I decided to try nylon string. That was such a good pivot, and this time it's not a spreadsheet joke. I really enjoyed the way that the nylon string brought to life that flowy movement that I expect out of a beaded curtain. That stretchy jewelry string just holds too much tension. So finally, I attempted to use what are called pinch beads. So it's a small metal bead that you then crimp with a set of pliers. So one thing to know about me, hi, I'm Libs. And if there is a skill I will never have, and I fully accept this about myself, it is judging how big something is. Any distance related guesstimates, how many jelly beans in a jar, you get the idea. So I totally thought I bought the right size, and I very much did not. Oh well, you live and you learn. And does anyone need any pinch beads? Because I've got a lot of them, and they're very small. It took me a minute to get used to working with a nylon cord, and it's a different texture and a little more slippery. But after a few lines, I was able to work with it pretty quickly. All in all, I'm much more pleased with this piece, and I'm happy that some of my ideas were winners. But here's where that perfection monster starts making its presence known again. I struggle with the fact that I didn't have a dark red in the kit I purchased, and I would have to pivot from my original pattern. Again, not a spreadsheet joke in this instance. I also think it's a sign of where I'm at in my life right now. Like, there's just a lot of newness in my world, and I'm trying to keep myself from falling into the traps of perfection that lead to stress and burnout. And I know that all of that is an attempt to protect myself and to present myself in the way that I want to be seen, instead of allowing myself the opportunity to just be human. Even after all the work I've done to accept myself for who I am, as I am, control and perfection are still some shadows I have to deal with. Loving ourselves where we are is a continual process. Healing comes in pieces, and it's something we have to actively work towards. No matter where you are in your journey, simply being aware of those unhelpful words that are carried in you is enough. So here's to letting go, one bead at a time, brave explorers. By this point, I am ready for a challenge. I've made my stop sign Rupee. I've made my gaming heart. But what's next, you ask? A potion bottle, of course. That's the next level. And when I made this design, it was just a simple little potion bottle. Very cute, very demure. But I just couldn't help myself. I needed some pizzazz. And no matter how many times I said to myself, Libs, let's keep it simple, the curious and maximalist part of me just said, but what if we don't? And I said, okay. It doesn't take much convincing, let me tell you. I added some little bubble baubles, if you will. And in my design, I think they look really cute. The challenge came when the colors that were in my bead kit didn't align with the colors that are available within Google Sheets. And so I didn't feel like the purple I chose really stood up to that background color when it was physically on the string. And I should have leaned more on that darker purple when I was making those little bubbles. So I could have let that get to me. I mean, considering the time that I spent on making the design, and then making the updated design, and then actually putting all the beads on the string. I mean, that was a lot of time invested, right? But instead, I was proud that I followed my curiosity where it asked me to go. And now I have a better idea for what to consider next time. Color theory is just not my skill set. And it's not something I can imagine in my head. Now I've learned how to incorporate that into my planning for future projects. And it may not be my favorite piece, but it is certainly one that taught me a great deal. And so for that, I can be thankful. Letting go of expectations has clearly been a challenge for me in this project, and I'm welcoming the opportunity to grow in that way. I can always use the reminder that something doesn't have to be perfect to enjoy the experience. It is just as valuable to learn what not to do. Having that safe space to explore, challenge yourself, and build onto an idea is important. We learn how to bounce back, to be resilient, and most of all, to see what we're capable of. Finding that belief in yourself is one step on the journey, and I'm rooting for you. The final piece. I had wanted this to be more of a 5-pointed star shape, you know, inspired by the one that is protected by intellectual property that shall not be named here. But because my grid area was so small, I didn't have quite enough pixels to work with to make a more traditional star shape. So I came up with this little shimmery sparkle thingy instead. This was probably one of the least challenging designs as far as the beadwork was concerned, so I figured, a breeze. It was my last one, and I had plenty of experience going into it. However, as I started putting the beads on, I got a little concerned about the design. It looked like it was going to be distorted again, like in my very first attempt, and I was a little nervous about making another mini beaded curtain that would not look like the vision I had in my head. Even though I know I had done the work to accommodate for the bead not being square, I felt a little frustrated, and I could feel the urge to give up starting to build. I just kept pushing though, because 1, crafted courage is just that, courage in the face of doubt. And 2, I really didn't know what the outcome would be, and I'd be selling myself short if I didn't see it through. It's not just about what you make, but how you feel while making it. Feelings of challenge, concern, fear, or maybe just plain mad are natural because behind it all, there's this expectation that we want our efforts to be good, quote unquote. We want to know that the time we've put in has meaning and value, and it's easy to give up when we anticipate that we're not going to meet our own expectations. But how do you know? Truly, you don't until it's complete. Our perception and the negative chatter can easily distort what we're seeing in front of us, and it's not until we've finished our work that we really know what the outcome is. Even if it's imperfect, which it will be, we've learned something about a skill, the process, or dare I say, ourselves, that has made us a little stronger than we were before. That lesson may be what not to do, but that's still valuable. I'm so glad that I pushed through and didn't allow my worries to get the better of me. And this design turned out pretty cute and shines just like the star it is. Fear is a natural reaction to the unknown. So the next time fear decides to wander in, whether it's in your craft space or out in the wild, I hope you have the courage to say, I may be scared, but I have the strength to do it anyway. I hope you enjoyed my take on this project. I'm going to start with how I felt about it. Throughout this project, I really felt a lot of things, kind of challenged. I expected it to be a lot easier than it was. Let's face it, it's just beads on a string, right? But there were so many challenges that I didn't expect to face, and I'm glad that I did. And I met them where they were and saw what I was feeling myself and said, hey, you know what? We can do this. We can rise to meet this challenge. Overall, I really liked this project. It is by nature very repetitive. I found it very relaxing because it was repetitive. It's just something kind of to wind your mind down, right? You can get in a rhythm and a groove, but it's also a little bit challenging because you have to be paying attention to your pattern. So I think it's a good mix of both worlds, but if that's not your flavor of project, I totally understand. One thing I try to do is talk about cost and budget, and I would love to give you a good story on this one, but a lot of the challenge, let's say, to the budget and my wallet was me. So I chose pony beads, which I thought would be more cost effective, and it was just my own idea. It was something that I came up with and wanted to just, I don't know, put my own stamp on the project to say I made this from start to finish. But there were a lot of challenges with that. And I think I could have done it a lot more cost effectively than I did. I just got a big pony bead kit, and I want to say it was like 20 bucks. I think if you pared down the project and you really knew just what you were gonna do, like I have this one tapestry in mind, that's what I'm going to make, then you could really just buy the colors that you need versus having to buy a big kit like that. And I also think that that would be a little cheaper. I also made some errors with the type of string that I chose. So I was trying a bunch of different things, and part of that was just me wanting the experience of doing this on my own from start to finish. And I try to do little research because I want that experience. That is purposeful to me. However, what I have noticed, at least with this project, is that where that comes to impact me can be my wallet. Just know that when you're trying to take creative risks and do something on your own, that may come at a cost sometimes. You could be buying something that you don't really need. That's on me. So I don't feel like I can give an accurate review of the cost effectiveness of this project. I think it could be done a lot more effectively than the way I did it. I would recommend right out of the gate getting some nylon cord, and I would get pony beads, but only the specific colors that you need if you choose to go with this sort of look that I did. Overall, I really enjoyed making these little mini beaded curtains. And we're gonna put some bead roll here through some movie magic in just a second. What I'm most proud of in this project is that I made my own pattern. I chose to do something different, whether it was the medium that I was working with or even within the pattern after I had set it, taking some creative risks. I'm very happy with the way that all of it turned out. It's not perfect, and as we've talked about, nothing ever will be, right? But I am so proud of being able to say I made this with my own skill and effort. And maybe that's not where I want that skill to be, but now I know what I can do and where I can grow. And that's what all this is about. Not only are we making things creatively, we're taking all of that growth that we're absorbing through the process and allowing that to flourish in our lives. And that's so exciting. I know that I have grown with this project and the ones that came before it by showing myself grace, by not allowing perfection to get in the way of the creative process, by seeing it through and allowing the outcome not to deter me during the process, and choosing to say, what if? Take creative risks. What's the worst that can happen? You know, maybe it doesn't pan out, but you would never know unless you tried. And I'm getting more and more comfortable with that uncertainty and just saying, you know, if it doesn't work out, that's okay. But now I've learned something. I've either learned what to do or what not to do, and both of those things are valuable, and I'm okay with that. I hope you all have enjoyed this tour through many beaded curtains, and I will leave you with this challenge. Try saying making many beaded curtains 10 times fast. It's gonna take us all a while, but that'll be good until part 2 comes out, because there will be a part 2 to this experiment, and I hope that you'll join me. So in the meantime, as always, be a light, take care of yourself, and when curiosity comes knocking, I hope you'll answer the door. Until next time, brave explorers.